I talked to you guys about what I call course development, and it's always a question, and I call it the Goldilocks question: too much, too little, just right. All right. Today's Desert Pencil webinar is pretty fun. Today was the soft opening presentation of the new Basic Money course that I was working on for the last week. So let me take a minute just to explain what this thing is and kind of how it came to be. A couple weeks ago, I get a call from a Desert Pencil alumni, and he's taken all the courses. He's a big fan of mine. We're good friends. And he says to me, I'm working with this group of people right now. We're in a different country, and I want to just kind of help them with basic money stuff. You got anything you can help me with that? And I thought, well, not really. But then I thought about it some more, and I thought, I can do this. So I started writing stuff down, calling friends, calling colleagues, asking questions. What do you know? What do you don't know? Brought a CPA into the discussion, a banker, and put together this curriculum and had the technical parts peer reviewed, as I always do, and sat down in the studio and shot it and edited. I was like, wow, that's pretty good. And I'm putting it out now to peer reviewers and test pilots to do a couple little modifications. But what it's turned into is about an hour and a half. It's I think it's 8 videos, and it covers really important money topics about things like consciousness and inflation and compounding and discounting and bookkeeping. And there's a section in the end about how you can use AI to take a credit card statement and prepare it for delivery into a tax form. It's pretty amazing. So it's not a super in-depth course. It's called a Basic Money course, but it is filled with information everybody needs to know. It's got a workbook, a couple handouts. It's good stuff. And once you take it, you have access to it for the rest of your life. Okay? So that's what it is. And today we watched a few of the videos. I'm going to show you part of one of the videos. I'm not going to see all of them. You want to see all of them, you got to come to the webinar. But I'm going to show you the one today about what most people's problem is with money. And the answer, I think, will very much surprise you. And at the end of the session, we did what we usually do. Our group kicks ideas around. We talk about what I presented, what problems they have, other current events, that kind of thing. So these take about an hour. Every Friday at 9 Pacific. You can join us by getting the link on Zoom at desertpencil.com, and hope you'll check it out. But for now, here is the re-edit of this week's Desert Pencil webinar. What is your biggest problem with money? What is your biggest problem with money? I ask students this, I ask clients this, we talk about in the workshops. So I want you to take just like 15 seconds, think about this, and write down your answer. Please write this down. One more time, here's the question. What is your biggest problem about money? Okay, let's stop there. If you didn't get the question answered, don't worry about it. You can go back and do it. But for now, what I want to do is to share with you some of the things that I've learned in over 35 years of doing this. Most people, and I would say like 9 out of 10 people that I've ever asked this in my career, and I've asked a lot of people this question, most people have the same answer. And the answer is, not surprisingly, I don't have enough. That's what most people say. Some say they spend too much, but most people say they don't have enough. And then we start talking about it some more, and here's what we discover. It's not a quantity problem. I mean, sometimes it is, but mostly it's a consciousness problem. It's an awareness problem. It's a problem of not knowing where they are with their money. And my guess is that's probably your problem too. And if you don't solve that problem, nothing else is really going to matter as far as how money shows up in your life, your relationship with money, who's the master, who's the slave, all this stuff. You've got to understand where you are with money. So I'm going to make some suggestions in the rest of this module. And these suggestions are going to start with a couple of different pieces of software that you might consider looking at to help you build your awareness and your consciousness about money. Now, the thing about software is this. Most of it does way more stuff than you need it to, and a lot of it does stuff you don't need it to do. But here's what you need your choice of software to do. You need it to provide a reporting function, especially if you're in business, but we're talking both personal and business here, okay? You need to have some kind of a reporting function, because without some kind of a report, you have no consciousness about where your money's going. And for most people, it's a spending problem more than an income problem. Not always, but mostly that's the problem. So what I'm going to show you next are two pieces of software that you can check out, and you should check them out, or something else. I don't care what you use. I'm going to tell you what I use when I show you. But you need to have something to help you understand where your income and expenses are, if not on a monthly basis, on a weekly basis. I would say at least monthly, especially when you're getting started, okay? So there's a couple pieces of software that you should check out to help understand how to solve your problem with money. Making stuff shorter is a lot harder than making stuff longer, as many of us know. So, okay, Matthew, what did you think about that last video? Give me some feedback, man.
Well, Joe, it is, I think you nailed it when you said, what is your biggest problem about money? And you are telling me if I'm not conscious of my money, then it will be difficult for me to answer. So the first step for me is to know where I am. So I think you really nailed it.
Yeah.
Because it is, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if nothing else, I want people to just start thinking about what they've never thought to think about. Right? That's the whole consciousness thing. Okay, cool. All right.
I have a question, Joe. Joe, I have a question. I'm sorry. I'm laying in bed. That's why I'm not on camera. Anyway.
Yes, you are. We can all see you. You just don't know it.
Okay, good. Long as I don't know it, it's all good. Where with the assets, I don't consider vehicles assets because they depreciate so quickly and everything. So when I look at my assets, I look at my property value, all of that. But when you're figuring the debt part of everything, do you consider all of your debt, as in car payments, student loans, everything, even though those aren't assets?
Okay, I'm going to answer it. Then I'm going to defer to our mortgage banker counsel. So first thing I'd say is this. If you're going to list the liability in your example of the car, then list the asset. List them both, because they're supposed to wash out. We're trying to get to what is your equity at the end. Okay. And if I was doing a financial statement, which is half of that is a balance sheet, I would absolutely put the car on there. Even if it's a piece of shit, I'd still put it on there because it's an asset that I own. In your example, the problem with the offset is you might owe the college debt, but you don't have, something on the equity side to show for that, but you still owe the money. So if it was me, I would just list everything, but that's just me. Brian, what do you think? You're a banker, or you were?
Yeah, of course. Even if it's a piece of junk, it's still something that's got a value to it. And it's true that you buy a car today and, next year it's worth half of what you bought it for. That's kind of irrelevant though. So I would include that.
But would you agree if you're going to list the liability of, for example, a car loan, you would also list the asset that the loan is against? You would want to list both, would you not?
I think so. Yeah.
That's a fundamental accounting principle, I think.
Yeah. So maybe you guys do it different in Tri-Cities, but that's what we say, Christine. Does that help?
Sure. Yes, it helps. I just kind of want to find out what my true worth is, kind of thing. And that answers just because we have toys, we have the toy haulers and we have the motorcycles and we have the four-wheelers. And so if I consider all of those assets, I just that's kind of what I'm looking at, my net worth and where I actually truly stand with where my net worth is.
Yeah, let me say something about that last superlative that you drew out a little bit here, okay? And I'll be brief about this. When we talk about overall net worth, everyone's aspiration to get their accounting to a degree of accuracy is going to be a little bit different. And I think that's the nature of your question, okay? Like, how accurate does this need to be? Well, if you're applying for a loan, that's a financial disclosure and you should be honest. Okay, that's obviously what I'm going to say. But if you're just kind of like, putting it down so you can feel happy about yourself, jigger the books as needed. Chris Callan, since you were my helper on Greenlight, thanks for introducing me to that. What did you think of that module? Because Chris has a daughter. What do you got, Dad?
Yeah, I think outlining the basic math problem, or the basic problem, I guess, about the $6,500 example was really powerful. Eye-opening probably for a lot of people who maybe blindly use credit cards and make minimum payments and stuff, really how much that's costing them. Your discussion later about a secured card, I guess maybe open some questions for me. I don't really understand how a secured credit card is different from a debit card. It sounds like the same thing to me, so I don't know if there's a difference there. And then I would just add, with respect to one of the reasons that we were interested in using the Greenlight card for our daughter was not only so that she had some visibility to how money works and given us some controls and some, reporting and stuff, but also that when we deposit funds, we can set up the card in such a way that a portion of those funds goes towards savings and a portion of those funds goes towards philanthropy, etc., so that she's not looking at all money as this is just money I get to spend. It teaches some other habits and some other ethical, or introduces some, maybe some ethical things as well, which I think is very cool. So yeah, it's like $5 a month and we really like it.
Yeah. And once you taught me about it, and thanks for introducing me to it, I talked to a couple other friends of mine who have younger children, and it was kind of jump on like, well, I spend $5 a month on that. And I thought, well, okay. So I just wanted to put it out to let folks know that it exists. And they can choose what's best for them. If I was doing it to my 12-year-old child, I would use Greenlight. I'm going to get this rolled up into the teachable.com delivery system. This will be an actual course. I'm going to charge money for it. Not a lot. We'll talk about that next week. But if you show up again next week, everybody gets a free ticket to take it themselves or give it to a loved one or a client. Okay?
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks for showing up, everybody. Go Seahawks. It's going to be sunny in Seattle this weekend, and it just doesn't get much better than this.